What's going on, guys? Welcome to another live stream. And so we're going to be discussing the first three books of the New Jedi Order today. So, it's quite exciting. So while we're waiting for some people to come into the comments, I'll just go over next week's video schedule for the channel. And then after that, we will check the chat, and then we'll get right into the first three books. Okay, so I'm going to be putting out 3 videos next week. One of the videos will be the review for the Michael Stackpole Dark Tide duology. So you'll actually get a little bit of a preview of my thoughts of those books in this live stream. And then I've got a droid video coming out next week on the hunter killer droids from the Stark Hyperspace War. And then what was the other one? I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, let's get some music playing so it's not so. Yeah, all right. Let's go with this. Okay. Right. We have any comments? Not yet. Okay. Yeah, so, all right. Well, yeah, so, and today I put out my Vector Prime review, so you can check that out after the stream if you would like, and to get more in-depth thoughts. This is just going to kind of be like a nice discussion on the first 3. So, all right, let's just get into. I think we'll just get it. We'll start with Vector Prime and then go to the other 2. So, Vector Prime. Before I had heard lots of things about New Jedi Order from various other YouTube channels and all that stuff, saying that it's really great. It's and it's intense because they actually kill off characters, because before they really didn't kill off a whole lot. I think the most prominent character they killed off in the Bantam era was Crix Madine, a rebellion general. I think he was the most notable because he's a movie character. But no, Vector Prime, it kind of comes in and hits hard with the Yuuzhan Vong, which are a fascinating villain for the Jedi and the New Republic to fight. All their technology, all their devices that they use are organic, so they're living things, and the Force doesn't really. They're not really connected to the Force, I guess, is how you would describe it. So the Jedi are actually kind of handicapped against them. They don't have an advantage over them, which I think makes them a really interesting threat for the Jedi. And you learn about their culture and their religion. That's not something that you really get a whole lot in Star Wars. Learning about any religions that are in the Star Wars universe. So that's kind of nice and a change of pace. So you start with Vector Prime, and everything goes nicely for the heroes for a while. Leia's dealing with a dispute on a world that is actually one of the Yuuzhan Vong in disguise, stirring things up. And then meanwhile, on the edge of the galaxy, the Vong are slowly coming in. And the Vong do some despicable things. like bringing a moon down onto a planet and destroying the planet just to cause chaos. You know, it's not like the planet destroyed was an important planet. It was a relatively, well, it's in the outer rim. It's a relatively small planet, not that important. I don't think it has any strategic value in terms of military or anything like that. So yeah, moon was brought on in that, and that's how Chewbacca dies. Because the Millennium Falcons, they're evacuating the people of Cern Padal, and you know, Chewie doesn't quite make it back to the Falcon in time to flee the moon. And you know, so Han Solo loses his best friend, and that death has lasting consequences for Han Solo, at least as far as I've read. So yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, the various devices of the Vong, like they have a thing they call the Uglith Masker, which is this creature that they can put on, and it functions kind of like a suit for different environments. They can, like in it, for instance, in the book, it keeps like cool temperatures out, so they can stay in cooler temperatures. They have a device called a Nullith that functions like a breathing device. It's like a starfish that sticks an appendage down your mouth and goes and into your lungs. Yeah, kind of brutal stuff. Yeah, they've got all sorts of things. Their ships are organic. Instead of shields, they rely on black holes to deflect blaster fire and that. It's just really interesting. I really like the Vong as a villain. I think they work really nice. Luke, in the beginning, he's trying to, I guess he's getting permission, but he's going to do it anyways, regardless of whatever the New Republic Council says, to reestablish the Jedi Council, as the Jedi are all scattered throughout the galaxy, and they're dealing out justice kind of how they see fit, and so the Jedi kind of need some oversight, so things don't get out of hand. And you know, that kind of causes a little bit of a difference of opinion with Jason. As Jason Solo doesn't feel like, with the reestablishment of the council, he feels that would be too restrictive on learning how to be a Jedi and kind of becoming the best Jedi that he could be. But yeah, we have yet to kind of see the reestablishment, as you know, the Jedi have been kind of busy fighting the Vong. Yeah, I think that's kind of Vector Prime roughly summed up. I guess now we'll move into the Dark Tide duology. And in the Dark Tide duology, we have we skip a couple months, you know, because at the end of Vector Prime, they do manage to destroy the, I guess you could call it the Vong's forward base, and kind of scatters a bunch of Vong everywhere. But you know, a few months later, we kind of pick up, and we have a new Vong leader, I guess you could say, and he's bringing in some more Vong. And yeah, so we go to a couple of planets in the first one, because Luke sends the Jedi on missions to kind of learn more about the Vong. So Luke and Mara, they go to the planet Belkadan, which is kind of the planet where a group of scientists were that saw the first arrival of the Vong in their ship. And they, so the planet was, I guess you could call it, changed into an environment fit for growing their ships and various technology. So Luke and Mara are going to go, or not Luke and Mara, sorry, Luke and Jason, to kind of further learn about what's going on there. And Anakin and Mara, they go to Dantooine because Mara has a disease that the Vong gave her. So it's weakening her. So she's managing to fight it off with the Force. Because if she wasn't Force sensitive, she would have been dead already. So and Anakin is going there to basically just help, take care of her, make sure she doesn't die. And then you have Corran Horn and Ganner Rhysode. They go to the planet Bimiel to recover a group of scientists that have lost communication with their university. So that feels like a very standard Jedi mission, but obviously it's not so generic because yes, the Vong are on there. So those two go to Bimiel. They do find the scientists, and the scientists they had discovered in a cave the remains of a Yuuzhan Vong. So and obviously they want to keep it to study it so we can learn more about the Vong and all that. But there is a little Vong settlement, outpost, whatever you want to call it, not too terribly far away from where the scientists are. And so they Corran and Ganner have to fight the Vong while the scientists get away. They do manage to kill some of the Vong, but Corran is, wounded terribly, so much so that Ganner has to save him, otherwise Corran would die. But they save the scientists, and they get the Yuuzhan Vong remains off-world. Luke and Jason on Belkadan, they discover a slave colony, I guess you could call it. And the slaves are tending to the various Yuuzhan Vong technology being grown, like the coral skippers and stuff like that. And the coral skippers are their starfighters, basically. Yeah, and then Jason has a vision of him saving the slaves, so he follows that vision, but he gets captured, and Luke has to come save him. But then they get a slight tremor in the Force that they're needed elsewhere, so they leave. So on Dantooine, Anakin and Mara, they befriend the local Dantooine people, and Anakin learns to be more self-reliant, and he cuts back on his usage of the Force for everyday mundane things like lifting firewood and stuff like that, and he does it the harder way, so he breaks a sweat, and he learns to rely more on himself rather than use the Force on everything. But then eventually, naturally, the Vong are on Dantooine as well, so they harass some of the Dantooine natives, and so Anakin manages to kill a couple of them, but they have to flee. He tells the Dantooinians to go hide in the mountains, and then Anakin and Mara they flee to avoid the Vong. So they're running, and eventually, after days of flight, they arrive at an area with some stones, and that's kind of where the Vong trap them. And just as it's all hope seems lost, that's when Jason and Luke arrive and they save him. And yeah, and you also have a planet that Lando's been doing his Lando thing on, and it got attacked. And so the refugees of Debrillion, which is the planet, they go to Dantooine, and that's where the next major battle of the Yuuzhan Vong War happens on Dantooine. And we see big vehicles of the Vong that are like troop carriers and things like that. They send in hordes of little soldiers that are they're smaller, faster, and and they're actually easier to kill for the Jedi, because they're not Yuuzhan Vong, so you could still fill them in the Force, but there's just tons of them. And so the Jedi and the New Republic managed to fend off some, but it's just overwhelming. And some Vong do manage to sneak into the encampment and kill. So eventually, they take too many losses in terms of the refugees, so they just decide to leave the planet. But they did manage to take out a good chunk of the Yuuzhan Vong, but it was kind of costly, as basically every victory that the good guys have in these books so far, it's cost a lot, if you could even call that a victory. So they all leave for, and that's kind of the end of the first book. And then the next book of the duology, we have, Luke sends the Jedi out on missions again, because again, there's so much that they don't know about the Yuuzhan Vong. And so Corrin and Ganner and Jason and a group of Nogri commandos, they go to the planet Garki to take out a little Vong outpost that's on there. And that mission, they find some Bafor trees, which are native to the planet of Ithor, where the Ithorians come from, the hammerhead-looking guys. And these trees, they produce some pollen that the armor of the Yuuzhan Vong, since everything the Yuuzhan Vong uses is they're living creatures, the armor is allergic to the pollen, and so it's a weakness that they can exploit. So Corrin makes the tactical decision to burn that area down, so to prolong the Vong discovering that they're weak against this pollen. Because once they figure that out, they'll know we got to go take out Ithor, because those trees are on Ithor. So obviously they figure it out, and the planet Ithor is the location of the next big conflict. And this book, we even get to see the Imperial Remnant come in, as Leia went over there to ask for their help. And Pelion, who is the leader of the Imperial Remnant, comes to their aid. And they do a pretty good job of fending off the Vong, but they still take heavy losses. They're developing new strategies to take out the Vong. Corrin Horn offers the leader of the Vong, Shadao, they make a deal. So they'll have a duel. If Corrin wins, the Vong have to leave Ithor and leave it alone. It's But if the Yusong Vong leader wins, he gets the remains of his ancestor. Corrin is partially inspired to make this deal out of revenge because Shadao killed Elgos, who had decided to try and bring peace, to try and go to the Vong and find out if there was a way that you could bring peace so there's no more war. And Shadao kills him and sends his bones to Corrin in a grotesque fashion. And so Corrin makes that deal partially out of revenge. But yes, it is also to save Ithor, hopefully. So they have their duel. It's pretty good. Corrin gets injured, but he does manage to kills Shadao. And and then Shadao's second doesn't hold up the Vong side of the bargain. He goes back to his ship and sends out some pods onto the planet of Ithor that they get past the defenses because there had been for the duel, there had been a ceasefire, a temporary truce to set up the duel. So they weren't ready for these pods that get shot into the surface of Ithor. And what's inside these pods are bacteria that it just kills everything on Ithor. So within a matter of hours, the planet is killed, basically. And I have no idea if there's a way to repair it. So at least for right now, that whole planet is gone, worthless, probably. I don't know. Maybe the Vong could do something with it after the bacteria is done. I have no idea. But luckily, the Ithorians aren't all extinct because the good guys had quite a while to prepare for I guess you could call it the attack on Ithor, as they figured that that's where they would attack, because they figured that the Vong would figure out about the pollen. So they had a while to evacuate the Ithorians on their ships. As for Ithorians, they don't actually live on the surface of their planet, as they see the planet as like sacred. So they live in their ships, and to not use up and take any space, and they let the plant life on Ithor just live. And they do go down to manage it, kind of take care of things. If there's a fire, they help it recover and things like that. They basically just tend the big garden of Ithor, essentially. But now that's gone, so and that's and so Corrin, he succeeds, but unfortunately Ithor is not saved. So you could say the news kind of brands Corrin as a bad guy, the person that killed Ithor and whatnot and acted rashly and whatever. And the New Republic Council isn't doing anything. They're actually fanning the flames because they don't like the Jedi, because some of the members on the council are corrupt and actually have somewhat criminal dealings that the Jedi were halting, and so they're kind of antagonistic against the Jedi. So Corrin basically leaves the Jedi Order and goes to Corellia in self-exile, so as to not further harm the Jedi Order in the public space. So that's unfortunate, because I think that's, it's not the best time to be taking off people. The good guys need everybody they can get because the Yuuzhan Vong are just getting started. I'm sure they've got many more planets they'll destroy and trash and render in an uninhabitable. It's just a matter of time. So, yeah, man, Borskfalia is just he's just not a good person. Yeah, I feel like every time you read him when he pops up in a book, he's doing something kind of scummy. And in this, being antagonistic against the Jedi who are trying to save the galaxy from the Vong, it's just, I don't know. All right. One character that I didn't expect to like so much because I wasn't like familiar with the character because he was young was Anakin Skywalker. He's or not Anakin Skywalker, Anakin Solo. Sorry, Force of Habit. Um, yeah, Anakin. He's I think in terms of like characters that are um, going on and having like a story arc, he's my favorite. I mean, I love Corran Horn from the Rogue Squadron stuff and I Jedi and all that. So it's always nice to have that. But yeah, Anakin, I'm liking his character arc because in the beginning in Vector Prime he's behaving like a kid. He's 15. Yeah, but then the death of Chewie, which it was Chewbacca saved Anakin, and that was basically his last act because he saved Anakin, but unfortunately the Falcon had to take off. So yeah, so Han kind of blames Anakin a little bit for Chewie dying, so that doesn't create the greatest bond between father and son, and so yeah, because Han after that, Han basically just becomes a drunk and he's bar hopping and all that, which is it's sad to see because Han Solo is usually a proactive character, but he lost his best friend, someone that's been in his life the longest. So it's understandable, but I hope he's not in his drunken state forever because the good guys need his help, and that includes members of his family. He can't mourn Chewie forever. But yeah, I assume he, ends his mourning and gets back on track because you can't mourn forever. But yeah, another character that I do actually like quite a bit is Ganner Rhysode. Ganner starts, at least in these books, he starts on what you would say, because the Jedi are kind of divided into two factions. You have, I guess, what you would call Luke's faction, and then you have the faction that would probably be led by Kip. Kip is more aggressive and more in favor of, preemptive strikes and kind of that philosophy, a more aggressive attack, whereas Luke is more on the let's defend and protect because that's what Jedi do. So so you have kind of two opposing philosophies. And Ganner starts out on Kip's side, but he learns some lessons as he fights. He actually fights the Vong, and he's taught a lesson. He gets a real nasty scar on his face, and he doesn't use Bacta to heal it. He leaves it as a reminder of his arrogance that, because he thought himself better than the Vong and more capable, but that wasn't the case. So Ganner has already learned a lesson and he's developing. So yeah, he kind of sides more with Luke. So really good stuff. Yeah. this is, these three books were a fantastic start to this series. I was surprised that it's so good. Um, yeah, because I mean, you read the Bantam era, and there's good stuff in the Bantam era, but if you read everything in chronological order, which I mostly did, there were books I skipped because I just I couldn't finish them. Like the Bounty Hunter Wars stuff. I got tired of reading that. I didn't read the third book in the Carillion trilogy. Um, but anyways, yeah. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, like the Bantam era, especially I would say the second half, at least chronologically. So like you have the Barbara Hamley books, Dark Saber, um, the Crystal Star. Some of the Crystal Star. I know that it has a notorious reputation in the fandom, but I read it and I don't think it's the worst Star Wars book. I think there's stuff that's worse. Um, yeah, that's my opinion. Um, yeah, and a few other books. Yeah, but there's still some really good bright spots in the Bantam era, even in the second half, like Starfighters of Adamar. I loved that book. That was just a fun book. That was a fun reading about a few characters that Wedge and Tycho and that. Yeah, it was fun. It was just a fun breath of fresh air, fun little adventure. But this really changed. New Jedi Order changed the status quo. We're bringing in villains that are shaking the galaxy. Like planets are getting destroyed or rendered uninhabitable. Major characters are dying. Like there's actually, it feels like stakes. There's actually consequences to things that happen. If a character makes lots of mistakes, it could be costly. So and I've only read 3 of 19. So I'm sure by the end it'll be such a roller coaster. I look forward to it. Yeah, it'll be really fun to do that. So yeah, next up is the James Luceno duology. What is it called? Hero's Trial, I think, something like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I mean, it's James Luceno, who's a fantastic Star Wars author. So I'm excited. But yeah, I love the New Jedi Order. I can see why people cheat when they do a top 10 ranking of books and they put the whole New Jedi Order in there, even though it's like one entry shouldn't be 19 books, but it's like I get it, but surely there are smaller pieces you could pick that are. Yeah, but I love it. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. We'll see who died. Well, I do have some spoilers, because over the years I've heard little spoilers and things. Because before I got into reading the expanded universe, I didn't mind spoilers. So you'd watch lore videos and things like that. So that I've had and then just when people discuss on YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, so I do know some major spoilers for this. Unfortunately, yeah. So I did know that Chewie died before I read the book. Because that's also one of the common things that some people say is dumb about the EU is, oh, Chewbacca dies by getting crushed by a moon. I mean, when you say it that way, like, yeah, he dies by getting crushed by a moon. It does sound dumb, but when you actually find the context and read the story, it's not dumb at all. It's actually a pretty good death. I like it. It's good. It's a heroic death. So that's good. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna say the other characters who die. But yeah, so because I yeah, but yeah, no, it's great. This is a great series that I think every Star Wars fan should read. I've only read these three, but it's just like, where are the fan films of the New Jedi Order? I understand that it's kind of a big undertaking. It's 19 books. That's a long time, but I would I would love to see that because these need to be. This would make a cool TV show, a really cool TV show. Because I think that's the best way if you were to adapt this into a different medium. I think a TV show is the route to go. There's just too much for movies unless you're doing tons of movies, but that really isn't practical. The TV show route is the best. Um, with a decent budget, you probably could. Um, I just realized I never showed this while we were talking. I'll put it on now. But anyways, with a decent budget, you could do the show in live action, but it would be, I mean, the Yusan Vong ships, that's probably CGI there. The black holes, that's CGI. So yeah, and the Vong, you could probably do the Vong practically though. So there's that, but yeah, so there would be a decent amount of CGI, but obviously if the budget is big enough, you could probably get away with it. But animation just might uh, naturally lend itself to this. I mean, imagine seeing the Vong in on a TV show fighting the Jedi. Yeah, that would be a really good TV show that, yeah, I would love to see. But alas, that'll never happen. But yeah, I'm surprised that no fan has even at least taken little scenes, little pieces, like say the duel of Corrin and Shadao. You could make an animation and do that, put that on YouTube. A little 4 or 5 minute video of that scene. I don't think that would be too terribly difficult. Um, yeah, or yeah, really anything else. Yeah, at least these little scenes. I think that would actually be really cool. I'd love to see that, but I don't think we'll ever. Well, we might see that at some point, but yeah. So yeah, I wish I had the skills because maybe I would try and do that, but I do not have the skills for fan filmmaking. Um, I would have to learn way too much to do it. I wouldn't do it justice. Someone that knows what they're doing would have to do it. Of course, that's kind of what Disney does. They don't know what they're doing with Star Wars, and they make whatever. So yeah. All right. Well, I think that's yeah, that's everything I have on this. Yeah, really great books. I probably will do another live stream talking about the next three in two-ish weeks, I think. Probably in about 2 weeks. It might not necessarily be on the same day, but I think 2 weeks from this week, we'll probably do another live stream. So yeah, I think that'll be fun. Talking about some more Yusan Vong. I'm loving it. I'm excited to continue on reading the stories. I think it'll be fun. Continue learning more about the Yusan Vong, their culture, and all that. Fantastic villains. Yeah, this just feels like a good continuation. Yeah, I think any Star Wars fan should read this. But yeah, you should you should probably read at least some other Star Wars books before, just so you have a baseline. Yeah, you should probably read the Thrawn trilogy and the Hand of Thrawn trilogy, or duology rather, and then the at least Rogue Squadron, the four books by Michael Stackpole. You know, Rogue Squadron, Wedge's Gamble, and the Krytos Trap, and the Back to War. That way, you learn some about Corran Horn. Oh, and you probably should read either the Jedi Academy trilogy or I Jedi, so you kind of see uh, the establishment of the Jedi and Corran as a Jedi and all that. I would personally recommend just reading I Jedi, but if you want, you could read the Jedi Academy trilogy. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's got some good stuff in it. But that's why I would say read I Jedi, because it kind of cuts some of the fat from the trilogy and kind of summarizes the best parts of the trilogy. And then it also has a Corran adventure in the back half that's really great, really worth reading. So, yeah, I would recommend doing that. I think once you've read those, then you could read NJO and really enjoy it. But you could probably just go in, read Vector Prime. Then again, I mean, you do kind of have to be prepared. Like, I do think you should be warned at least a little that, these books aren't going to like play it safe and everything is going to be okay at the end of each book, and they're going to solve the problem. It's not like that. They probably don't even at the end of the series, I'm sure the Vong have left their mark. Oh, we have a comment. Let's see what it says. Nazo says, I'm the exact opposite. I prefer Jedi Academy trilogy to I Jedi. Yeah, some people like the trilogy and some people like I Jedi. My problem with the Academy trilogy is that, at least with the first book, it kind of wastes time, in my opinion. It takes way too long looking for Jedi. One of the prospective Jedi isn't even a Jedi. He's just cheating at blob races. So we spend a long time going to the blob races with Lando. I didn't enjoy that. But where they go pick up Gantoris, that's great. Streen, those are good parts. But yeah, for being called the Jedi Academy trilogy, it actually doesn't spend as much time as you would think with the Jedi and the Academy and all that. And yeah, the best villain in that trilogy, they kind of end quickly, and it just becomes Dala, and taking that out at the end of the book, which I was not a fan of. I am not an Admiral Dala fan. So yeah. Whereas I Jedi, I just enjoyed it. But I do like Corran Horn as a character. I Jedi feels like Corran bullshitting me most of the novel, and his ego in that book is the size of the Death Star. He does have a pretty big ego. That is true. That is true. It is interesting. And yeah, that book does kind of like put Corran Horn in certain scenes when, because the Academy trilogy was written first, which is a shame. It would have been nice if there would have been some. Yeah, but I don't think it doesn't make sense, because in the Academy trilogy, Kevin J. Anderson doesn't really name all of the students. He only names Streen, Gantoris. You have Tion, I think Cam, maybe one other one. So, and Luke starts with 12. So yeah, there's a few others that you don't get a name mention at all. You expect me to believe he gave Exar Kun a get behind me Satan moment? Oh yeah, there's some, yeah, because in that book he goes to the one temple where Exar Kun was his spirit was, I think, the one, and he kind of has a confrontation. Yeah, interesting. I guess Dasan was one of his first students. Um, I I think he well, he could have been like the second batch though. But yeah, because when does Jedi Knight 2 take place in the timeline? Because I don't know off the top of my head. And for that matter, when is Kyle Katarn part of Luke's academy? Is he first? Is he with the first group or is he with another group? Is that yeah? And were Kyle and Dasan like classmates? I guess you could say. Yeah. Do they make reference of that in the game? It's been so long since I've played the game. I can't remember. Jedi Outcast is roughly 910 ABY. Oh, okay. Oh, that's around the Thrawn stuff, right? Because Thrawn is 9, 10, 9. Is it 9 or 10? Yeah. So is that game before the Thrawn stuff, or it has to be before because I don't think they make any reference to Thrawn. Kyle was with the initial group. Oh, okay. Then I would say that Dasan probably was. Oh wait, no, it's 12 ABY. Oh, okay. So it's after the Thrawn stuff. Okay. 12 ABY. Yeah, so that's 13 years before the Yuuzhan Vong stuff. Interesting. Yeah. So, and Luke reestablishes the Jedi Academy in like I think it's 11 ABY, something like that. Or is it 10? No, I think it's 11 or 12. Yeah, so Dasan would have to be in the first group. And then, yeah, he's not part of it for very long and goes dark side. That's interesting. I need to replay that stuff. Yeah. He does it roughly after Dark Empire. Oh yeah, the comic. Yeah, because you have the Jedi Academy trilogy. Yeah, which it's not too long after the Thrawn stuff, and I think Dark Empire is a little bit after the Thrawn stuff, right? I think they're set fairly close in terms of the timeline. They're pretty close, but I think the Thrawn trilogy is first, and then I think it's a few months. It's Dark Empire. I don't know. I haven't read Dark Empire, so I don't know exactly where it fits in the timeline. He started a few students like Cam in Dark. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, Cam. I like Cam Solosar. I'll eventually read Dark Empire. I'm focusing on the novels right now, and then get into the comics, and then gathered them in Jedi Academy trilogy. So he had already found a few, and then I think I remember that he had a few, and then he was looking for some more. Yeah. Have you read Lightsider? No, I have not read Lightsider. That's one of the things that didn't get released, right? One of them. Yeah, I believe he found Kyle, Corin, Mara, and Cam. Ah, yeah, that's 4 right there. Yeah, and then he adds Streen and Gantoris to that, along with some others. Tion. Yeah, yeah. That'd be interesting to know all the 12 originals. Oh, when was Dorsk 81 one of the 12 original group, or is he or is he later? Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, no, because I think Dorsk was in. No, I think Dorsk was one of the ones that was mentioned in unofficial EU by time of each. You can find the digital version on Joe Bongiorno's website, Star Wars Expanded Universe. Yeah, yeah, and it's Dorsk 81 was original. Is a Lightsider? Is Lightsider uh, dealing with Dark Empire stuff, or is it something else? I can't remember. Yeah, because I think it's related to Dark Empire, like it's set during or after or whatever. Dorsk 82 was Jedi Academy Leviathan coming. Oh, Dorsk 82 becomes a Jedi? I didn't know that. Huh. It's set between Dark Empire 1 and 2. Oh, okay. So is Lightsider a book or a comic? I think it's a. Is it a comic? No, I think it's a book. I think it's a book. Yeah, yeah. I'll eventually check it out. I'll probably check it out when I'm uh, delving into Dark Empire. I'll probably read it between 1 and 2 novella. Okay. Yeah. I'll probably read Lightsider after Dark Empire 1. I'll just take a little break and read the novella. Yeah. Probably expands on some characters and stuff like that. Yeah. That'll be fun. Yeah. But yeah. Dark Empire. Dark Empire is Tross, but actually good. Yeah, I know what Dark. Well, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I know that the Emperor comes back and that. Um, yeah, I don't love a clone Emperor coming back. I just, you know, yes, I'm sure it's done well in the comic, but I don't know. I just don't love that idea personally. I'm kind of tired of clone characters coming back, and but yeah, I haven't read that, so yeah, I can't judge it too harshly until I've read it. But yeah, I don't love that aspect of that story. Um, but yeah, comics. Excited to get into the comics. In the comic Crimson Empire, it pretty much states that Palpatine was doomed to fail anyways. Oh, okay. Yeah. Crimson Empire. Yeah. So Nazo, have you read most of the expanded universe? Have you read like all the comics and all the novels and stuff like that, or have you just focused on, say, the post Return of the Jedi stuff? They tried to retcon in Hand of Thrawn duology. Oh, they did? Do I remember that? Oh, I probably wouldn't have known because I wouldn't know exactly all of the references to Dark Empire unless it specifically states, the crisis of Dark Empire, the all that stuff. Yeah, because I do know that in the Hand of Thrawn duology there was a Thrawn clone, which I'm glad got destroyed or whatever. Because although it would be interesting to see a Thrawn clone handling the Yuuzhan Vong. That would actually be kind of an interesting scenario. Almost all the comics, almost all the novels currently on Dark Journey. Dark Journey. Is that a book or a comic? That doesn't ring any bells. But so you've read a good chunk of it. Cool. Yeah, I've read most of the novels. I'll finish New Jedi Order, then I'll read Dark Nest and Legacy, and then Fate, and then the 5 or 6 novels at the end. Dark Journey is a novel in NJ. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know all the titles in the New Jedi Order. Took me years to get this far. Yeah, I was just focusing on the books, and this is my 4th year reading the Star Wars books. So it's an undertaking, and if you're gonna do it all, yeah, it's probably 6, 7, 8 years at least. It depends on how fast you go through it, but yeah, it's been fun. Definitely not worth going in chronological order, though. I wouldn't recommend that. I did most digital ebooks in an e-reader. Oh, you can tolerate reading books that way. Well, good for you. I hate reading on like a device. I'd much rather read a physical book. It's just my preference. I like reading physical books, but I went chronological order. Oh, you did? Yeah. What are your thoughts on reading chronological order? I think it's not the best. Although if I was just skipping around, there is stuff that I would have never read. I was fine with it. Yeah, since I was doing the novels, I started with what do you call it? Dawn of the Jedi, which is not a very good book. Yeah. So you probably read the Dawn of the Jedi comics, right? They're before the novel? Or is the novel first? It's all right, but I get why everyone doesn't do that route. Yeah. 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 I mean, personally, I would say you could read chronological order, just skip Dawn of the Jedi. And then, so that would be reading, well, you could read The Lost Tribes of the Sith, which I liked, but that might be kind of a weird start. But reading Revan, is that the next book? The whole Dawn of the Jedi era was garbage. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard the comics are better than the book, but still not the greatest. Yeah, what the thing that I don't like about that era is, don't they have like, aren't the early Jedi, however, aren't they kind of like light and dark needs to be balanced as in a scale? And then they like don't, if they like lean too heavily in the light side, they have to go to the dark side moon to balance themselves out, and vice versa. Don't they have to do something like that? So they're like, they balance themselves in the light and the dark. I think that's, if that's what it is, I don't love that. My recommendation of chronological order is to start with Tales of the Jedi comics. Yeah, that's probably a good start, because that would be before. Some of those Lost Tribe of the Sith stories are probably set during that little time period. Yeah, it's against how George described. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. A lot of people get balance wrong. I always find it interesting because you watch the movies. It's not equal good guys and bad guys. It's Balance is the absence of the Sith users. They're a cancer, basically. They're not good for the galaxy. There's always going to be the dark side, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there has to exist the Sith. And the Jedi's purpose is to take the Sith out. So they're, the Jedi function like, or you could liken it like cops and criminals. Criminals they're bad. They're not good for society. So we need cops to manage them. Yeah, so the Jedi and Sith are kind of like that. So, but yeah, I recommend Lost Tribe of the Sith a little later, like after Old Republic era, because they're all over the place in the timeline. Yeah, they skip around a little bit. Yeah, they're pretty good though. But yeah, overall I would say chronological order isn't the worst way to experience it, but yeah. But yeah, like I said, I've read stuff that I would have never read if I was just skipping around. So that's cool. But yeah, been fun. I wish certain time periods had more stuff in them, though. Like the Old Republic. I wish the Old Republic had more just books and comics and video games and everything. It's such a rich time period in Star Wars. Before reading the Revan novel, I recommend the KOTOR comics and games. Yes, I played played KOTOR 1 before I read the Revan novel. Because I made the mistake of reading the novel. Yeah, because you probably should read if you care. If you're not interested, then yeah. But I would definitely play the games before the book, though, because I read the Revan novel and I loved the first like 2/3 of it, but then when it switches to Mitra Surik as the main character, I didn't enjoy that. Not that Mitra was a bad character, it just also what happened to Revan I wasn't like thrilled with. Most of it in the Old Republic is the MMO short stories on website. Yeah. SWTOR has a lot of stuff just because they've it's got lots of storylines and stuff like that. It's kind of an undertaking. Yeah, and I'll eventually I'll get to it, but yeah. I wish they would put SWTOR on consoles, because I like to play games on consoles. I'm not much of a PC player. I don't enjoy that. So, I don't know if that'll ever happen. You want a comic and novel rich era? Go prequel era. Yeah, the prequels, the comics. The Republic line where it starts before the Phantom Menace and goes all the way through till a little bit after Revenge of the Sith, and then it goes into Dark Times, right? I've heard nothing but praise for that stuff, and I really want to read it. I want to see the true Clone Wars, because the comics they go through so much of the war and so many great stories that I've heard about, and I'm excited to read that. But I did read the novels. The novels that's an era that I would say overall the novels are pretty mixed. Because I read Shatterpoint. I didn't enjoy Shatterpoint. Cestus Deception was okay. I wish it was a Kit Fisto story rather than Obi-Wan. But that wouldn't have made the story better. That just would have made me happy. What else? You have Jedi Trial, the one with Anakin. That one wasn't that great or that memorable. What else? The Republic Commando novels. I love those. Labyrinth of Evil is fantastic. So yeah, it's got good stuff. Yoda Dark Rendezvous. I wish it would have focused even more on Yoda and Dooku. That's my only complaint about that. Between the novels, comics, short stories, young reader novels, and video games, it's a rich era. Yeah. And it's also really fleshed out. Like, you have a really good idea of how the war went, because you have so many campaigns, and yeah, so you have so much of the timeline filled in. Like, there's not really a lot of wiggle room in terms of like new material. That's one thing that I do like about that. You need a list of the Clone Wars comics in relation to the Clone Wars multimedia project. Oh, I forgot MedStar is the comedic mash, but oh, I loved the MedStar duology. I loved it. It's fantastic. I enjoyed it a lot. It was great. Yeah. So actually, in my opinion, the novels, there's only 2 novels that I didn't like, and one that I thought was okay. One with Yoda Dark Rendezvous, which I thought was disappointing, but not a bad book. All the rest I loved. I loved them. Yeah, really interesting. But yeah, it's an era that. Yeah, but I think most people would say the comics are better, because I don't know. Is there any duds in the Clone Wars era for comics? I'd also recommend tracking down insider issues for short stories and HoloNet News /CIS shadow feed. I have all of the insider stories that they released. At least I think I do. Yeah, because they released a couple of books that collected them. Yeah, they do have the Disney era stuff in them, but yeah, it denotes which ones, because it says Legends. So I think I have all of the stories. Yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't. I've read a few of them, but it's been a while, because I was reading them as they popped up in the timeline, but I've forgotten to go and read some. So I probably I should go do that. Yeah, because there's probably some new Jedi Order stories in there. Maybe. That would be interesting. Yeah. MedStar Intermezzo is only available in Insider. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't. More MedStar, yeah. I'd love that. Yeah, I do have one Insider issue that I found at a comic book store. I just bought it because I wanted to look through it, just to kind of see like what it was like. Yeah, it's a shame though. I wish I would have had some when I was younger, because I would have loved looking at that as a kid. That would have been so cool. It's a short story between the novels. Yeah. Yep, short stories. Some short stories are really fantastic in Star Wars. Yeah, some authors, they do a really good job of writing really great, fantastic short stories, and some are just, I don't know, they don't feel very good, or they don't feel very good. They're not very good. They feel kind of like fan fiction. Same, yeah. You ever watch Matt Wilkins' Expanded Universe video series? Yes, I've seen some Matt Wilkins. Yeah, I think I've watched some of his expanded universe video series. Is that the one where is that where he's reviewing everything in chronological order, or is that him just talking about EU stuff? One of them was by Stackpole, and there's a couple by Alston. Yeah. Well, Stackpole usually is fantastic. Whatever I've read of his, I have read because there's some stories in the Tales of Empire and Tales of New Republic books that are collections of short stories, and the Stackpole and Zahn short stories in those were fantastic. The only things I'd say worth reading in those. Yeah, actually, yeah. Those two anthologies, the Tales of Empire and New Republic, I don't think are very good. But Tales of Jabba's Palace, Mos Eisley Cantina, and the Bounty Hunters, I loved. I thought that there's some dud stories in there, some weird ones, but yeah, I think the best one is the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, because there's only 5 stories, so they really get to tell a nice, good, meaty story about each bounty hunter from Empire. So, yeah, because some short stories, they're just not long enough to really tell an interesting story. Stackpole's Insider short story is called Illusion. Illusion. Oh, I think I've heard of that. That's fun. It's fun to play with words like that sometimes. Yeah. Of course, I have no idea what that's about. Huh. Yeah. Maybe I should do. Yeah, maybe I'll have to read some more short story because it's been a while. It's been really fun reading that, and now that there's tons that I've missed for the time. Yeah, I probably could read most of them. Yeah. Zahn did one in the Hasbro short story collection. Oh, the Hasbro short story collection. How is the Hasbro short story collection collected? Was it in a I don't think it was a book, right? Because I haven't heard of that. Is there like a Yeah, there's so much expanded universe stuff. There's so many little short stories and little things, and yeah, it's kind of hard to collect everything. You really do need like a comprehensive guide if you want everything. It included 3 short stories for the Clone Wars in a small book. Okay. In a small book. Small book. 3 short stories. Oh yeah, that would be a little book. Yeah. Man, when did that book come out? That probably came out for the so probably 2003, 4 or something like that. Look up Star Wars Hasbro short story collect. Okay. I can do that right now. Good idea. Let's look that up. All right. Let's see. All right, I'll just share the screen so you can see it too. Okay. Oops. Oh, I did the wrong one. Darn it. No, I'll share that one. Share screen. There. Okay. All right. So we have this. Go away. Stupid ads. Skip all this. All right. Oh, so it looks like that. Oh, that's interesting. Star Wars Hasbro's printed booklet packaged with many Hasbro toys, published in 2003. Featured 3 original short stories, as well as a guide to more toys. It was also given away at some conventions. So the content: Star Wars or Clone Wars timeline, Stormfleet warnings by Jude Watson, Equipment by Matthew Stover. I've read Equipment because that was in my copy of Shatterpoint. So I've read that. Duel by Timothy Zahn. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look. I'll have to look for that. Oh, it's probably expensive. Early 2000s before Filoni. Yeah, that's it. Shatterpoint. Yep, thank you. Yeah, man, I wish that the Clone Wars TV show. I wish it would have. Yeah, because I don't see anything wrong with making a show if they would have just adapted some of the novel comic book storylines. I see nothing wrong with that. And there are things that you could add for characters, but with Obi-Wan and Anakin, they're characters that you get a ton of stories in, and so to tell more Obi-Wan and Anakin stories, that would be hard to fit in because we have a really good idea of kind of what they were doing during the war, but I see nothing wrong with picking other characters that don't get the spotlight all the time and kind of showing some of their things during the Clone Wars. Because do we see what Saesee Tiin is doing during Clone Wars very often? Probably not. Not really a common character that you follow, or Kit Fisto. Well, you do get some Kit Fisto in the comics. I know that. But yeah, there's tons of characters that they could flesh out. But yeah, if you want to tell some Obi-Wan and Anakin stories, pick some comic, like the Battle of Jabin. Why that? If they would have adapted that in the TV show, that would have been awesome. But the problem with TCW is that none of the writers are EU fans. Yeah, maybe they read a story, or most likely they've probably read Heir to the Empire. Tons of people have read that, but yeah, that doesn't really lend itself to. Yeah, but I think people working on that show should have been aware of the comics and the novels and everything in the Clone Wars multimedia project. Because they contradict stuff all the time. Because they kind of just do whatever they want in that show, which is a shame. Yeah, there could have been some really great stuff, but instead we're left with that, unfortunately. Yeah, let's switch the music. It's been playing that for a long time. Here you can look at that, just so you're not looking at something boring. All right, I'll just put it on that. All right, well, been going for almost an hour and 20 minutes. Kind of went off NJO, so that was fun. But yeah, it's always fun talking about the EU, because it really is worth getting into. It's worth reading and playing the games. Yes, there's some, not great stuff in it. Because not every single story can be a 10 out of 10. It's just natural. He got pulled away for questionnaire. That's okay. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Nazo, is this the first thing that you've watched of mine? Or yeah, or have you watched some other? I'm just curious. I've never seen your name in the comments or anything before. Yeah, it's always nice to have new people, come and chat and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah. I feel like you miss out on stories if you're, say, if you're not into comics or video games. You do miss out on some really great stories, unfortunately. I know that comics aren't for everyone or video games, but yeah, I'm like, there are some audio dramas for some of the comics, like the more major ones. Yeah, because I've seen them on YouTube. Like you can find the original trilogy audio dramas on YouTube. There's Dark Empire audio drama. All three of the Dark Empire storyline. I think Crimson Empire. Yeah, those are ones I found. Yeah, and I think that's cool. Or there are some YouTube channels that do comic dubs, so they'll put music and sound effects and voices to various comics. So if you're not really into reading comics, I would recommend those. I've seen a video of yours before. Oh, cool. Awesome. I like most of the Bantam era minus Jedi, Planet of Twilight, Crystal Star, and the Corellian trilogy. I agree with that. Kind of. I love Jedi. Planet of Twilight was weird. What about Children of the Jedi? Do you like that? Crystal Star, not the best, but not the worst. Corellian trilogy, really disappointing. I wish. Yeah, I had heard that it went more into Han Solo's family, so we learned more about Han Solo, and it kind of does. Yeah, because you have Thrak and Sal Solo, and he's related to Han Solo somehow. I can't remember. I 100% agree with you about the Clone Wars novels. Oh, cool. You like Children of the Jedi. Oh, you do? I don't. Yeah. So, you like that. So, you're probably a Callista fan then. But maybe that's a part of the book that you're not a big fan of. I don't know. That's kind of a big part of the book. Yeah. I don't mind Callista, but I didn't like the where she went into that lady's body and then her and Luke were developing a romance. I didn't love that. She should have died at the end of Children of the Jedi with the Eye of Palpatine. That's my thought. It was done better, in my opinion, than in the Han Solo trilogy. Oh, the Han Solo... Which Han Solo trilogy? Probably the AC Crispin. You are? Yeah. Are you one of the fans that prefers Luke and Callista over Luke and Mara? At least Callista had permission. True, but I still don't like that. That felt... Yeah, it's like, yeah, you have permission, but that's still weird. The AC... Yeah, I love that trilogy. Yeah. I can't wait to reread that. That was so fun. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't read the third Corellian trilogy book. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did, but yeah. I don't know. Did I miss anything major? I felt like he had better chemistry with Callista, but I like Mara too. Yeah. Yeah. pretty fun. All right, I think we'll go a few more minutes and then I think we'll call it there. But yeah, it's been fun chatting. Yeah, man, I need to get the comic book so I can start delving into them because I'd love to do live streams talking about various comic books because I think that would be really fun. However, how she and Luke got together in Hand of Thrawn duology has zero romantic chemistry. I don't think I minded that. Yeah, that was probably the best part of the book for me. Yeah. After they got together, though, I think it works. They balance each other out. Well, yeah, they do. Reading them in JO, yeah, they're really good. Oh, and Survivor's Quest. I enjoyed that little story. That was good. I have not read the KOTOR comic. I haven't read any comics. Well, I've read Star Wars comics, but they're the Disney garbage. But yeah, unfortunately. But I have started to amass comics. It's great, trust you. Oh, I've heard good things about KOTOR. Yeah, about Zane Garrick. I think that's the main character. That is good stuff. Look forward to that. But it's set around the KOTOR games. I love that time period. I love the Old Republic. Luke grew tougher. Mara grew softer. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And I think they both helped each other accomplish that. Zane Carrick, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to read that. I've got a little bit of Tales of the Jedi, and then I've got a bunch of Marvel Epic collections. I've got the first two Old Republic volumes, some Rebellion, bunch of stuff. I've got some, all over the place. Yeah, so my favorite character Stackpole made was Booster Tarek. Oh, you're a Booster fan. He's entertaining when he pops up in a book. That is true. Oops, let's do this one first. Have you only read the first NJO so far? Yes. Yes, I have only read. I have not started the James Luceno duology that's set after the what do you call it? No, not Agents. Hero's Trial or something like that. It's got Han Solo on the cover with that gray mustache alien. Are you going to Legacy Expo in California? I am not. I am not going. Vector Prime is an epic start. I agree. I enjoyed Vector Prime a lot. It was good. Really good. It really kick-started the stuff, yeah. So it's a good start. Agents of Chaos duologies. Oh, but the first book is Hero's Trial, right? Agents of Chaos duology, yeah. I think Hero's Trial is the first book in that, right? That's the one with Han and the mustache gray alien thing. Could have met up. Any questions for the authors? No, nothing comes to mind. Yeah, because Stackpole's going to be there, and Kevin J. Anderson, and who else? There's a bunch. I can't. Those are the only ones that I think pop up. Is Stover going to be there? Matthew Stover? Maybe. Yep. Yeah. I can't remember. But yeah, nothing that really comes to mind questions wise. But yeah. Yeah. Maybe next time if they do another one. I don't know. I'm not opposed to going. I just didn't get stuff. And DM me on Twitter or Discord. You can ask me. Oh, okay. Is your Discord Nazo servant Arc? I'll probably go Discord, Twitter. I have Twitter, but I don't really use it. Yeah, Stover too. Oh, okay, cool. VP did a great job bringing back stakes. Yeah, because the books needed stakes. They were getting stagnant and boring after the Bantam era started getting repetitive, and the status quo never really changed. Yeah. But yeah, tons of planets and all sorts of stuff get destroyed. Yep. Okay. Well, I probably, if I get any questions, I'll definitely message you. Yeah, I could always check which authors, and if I have any questions, I could, yeah. But yeah, well, yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna call the live stream there. An hour and a half. It's been really fun. Like I said earlier in the stream, we'll be doing this again in about 2 weeks, going over the next 3 books. How would you rank? Okay, I'll hurry and rank them, and then I'll go. So I would rank the books. The first 3. Vector Prime would be 3rd, and then Ruin and Onslaught. That's how I would rank the first 3 thus far. Nice. Yes. Yeah. There's a possibility that I might live stream next week, but again, I don't know. But it won't be on NJO because I haven't read the next 3. So, but yeah, all right. Well, I think we'll call it there. Thank you to. Oh, I didn't. Oh, we have a critical thinker. Oh, cool. I didn't realize that was someone else. I just read the comment. Yeah, but anyways, yes. Thank you to everyone that watched tonight, and thank you to Nazo and Critical Thinker for commenting. For in the beginning there, I was just talking to myself, but yeah, appreciate it. Hopefully you can make it to the next live stream. Yeah, it'll probably be next Wednesday or Thursday in 2 weeks. So it either will be, in 13 days or 14 days. But it depends, So yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, I'll have reviews coming out for the books every week for the next few months. Have a good one, Walrus. Have a good one, Nazo. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. I think we'll end it there. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you later.